Good afternoon and welcome to performance at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Key West, Florida, and welcome to our 25th week together. The last few weeks we have been singing the hymns and continue today. The hymns that you have been missing, the hymns that have been playing around in your head these past several months. So let's get to it. The first piece today, let's call it our prelude that I just finished playing, was John Stainer's Andante Pathétique. We all know John Stainer with his composition for choir, The Crucifixion, but we might be hard-pressed to think of anything else. Yet Stainer's output of sacred music was extensive, including the Sevenfold Amen and numerous hymn tunes, including Cross of Jesus, All for Jesus. He also made a lasting contribution to the music of Christmas in his Christmas carols New and Old, published in 1871. The book includes Stainer's arrangements of what were to become the standard versions of What Child Is This?, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, Good King Wenceslas, The First Noel, and I Saw Three Ships, among others. He was a skilled musician, and his good friend, Arthur Sullivan, said of him that he was a genius as he listened to him play at St. Paul's one day. Stainer was an organist there for 16 years. Our dear friend Charles Wesley left us with well over 6,500 hymns, which had the origin in the Church of England. He was an early leader in the Methodist movement, was originated as a revival movement within the 18th century Church of England and became a separate denomination after Wesley's death. Unlike the Calvinists, who believed that salvation was intended for a select predestined group of people, most Methodists who taught that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, died for all of humanity and that salvation is available for all. In theology, this view is known as Arminianism. Charles Wesley experienced a conversion on the 21st of May in 1738, which he felt a renewed strength to spread the gospel to ordinary people, and it was around then that he began to write the poetic hymns for which he would become known. And in 1739, Charles and his brother John took to field preaching under the influence of George Whitefield, another Anglican priest and founder of the Methodist movement, whose open-air preaching was already reaching out to a great number of Bristol coal miners. After ceasing field preaching and frequent travel due to illness, in 1765, Wesley settled and worked in the area around St. Marylebone Parish Church. On his deathbed, he sent for the church's rector, John Harley, and told him, "Sir, whatever the world may say of me, I have lived and I die a member of the Church of England." Remember Sarah Kinninger, our friend who is here today on Facebook? Check out the column on the right-hand side and expand her messages. You will find the verses of the hymns that we will sing. Let us sing two stanzas of the hymn, Christ Whose Glory Fills the Sky. The melody, written 200 years earlier. Not here for high and holy things we render thanks to thee, but for the common things of earth, the purple pageantry of dawn and of dying days, the splendor of the sea, of faith and hope and love undimmed, undying still through death, the resurrection of the world, what time there comes the breath of dawn that rustles through the trees, and that clear voice that saith, "Come, let thy voice be one with theirs, shout with their shout of praise. See how the giant sun roars up, great Lord of years and days." So let the love of Jesus come and set thy soul ablaze to give and give and give again, which God hath given thee, to spend thyself nor count the cost, to serve right gloriously the God who gave all worlds that are and all that are to be. Geoffrey Anquetil Stewart Kennedy was an English-born Irishman, poet, and Anglican priest. Another one. He volunteered as a chaplain to the army on the Western Front during World War I. He was the chaplain that did not stay sheltered in the barracks, but out in the trenches delivering cigarettes to the infantrymen. A true hero. His story is one that you should read about. Much of his published works center around his experiences during the Great War to end all wars. The music has been attributed to Elkanah Kelsey Dare, who lived from 1782 to 1826, was born in New Jersey, and moved to Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, sometime around 1818. He was a Methodist minister and music publisher, publishing music in the shape note format, one of the first American composers to do so. This had been an early English tradition. We will sing 4 verses of this hymn. English poet James Montgomery composed some 400 hymns, although less than 100 of them are commonly sung today. Some of his well-known hymns are "Stand Up and Bless the Lord is my shepherd," and the Christmas carol, "Angels from the Realms of Glory." We will sing 3 stanzas of another of his famous hymns, "Hail to the Lord's Anointed," set to an old German folk tune. There is a balm in Gilead, a very well-known African-American spiritual, and has direct reference taken from the Old Testament book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, verse 22. Look it up. It is unknown how old this melody and lyrics that we know today are. However, it first showed up in print in the 1854 hymnal, "The Sinner's Cure." It is number 676 in our hymnal. We will sing both stanzas. When doing research online for our next hymn, I found it interesting that my usual sources were quiet and empty. I was taken to the hymnology archive to read that in the study of spirituals, some songs were widely disseminated before they were committed to print, but others, like this one, can be traced to a particular region. Let Us Break Bread Together on Our Knees has its root in coastal South Carolina. This spiritual was first heard and sung among the students of the Penn School, St. Helena Island, South Carolina. In 1862, the Penn School was established as the first school for freed slaves by Quaker and Unitarian missionaries from Pennsylvania. The first enrollment was just 60 students. The school remained an active educational institution for the island's population until 1948, when the state took over public education on the island. The text of Let Us Break Bread Together appeared for the first time in print in 1925, when the Journal of American Folklore published an article, Folklore from St. Helena, South Carolina, which included a variety of tales, riddles, proverbs, and spirituals collected in 1923 from students at the Penn School. It has been popular ever since. We will sing the version as printed in our 1982 hymnal, hymn number 325. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou the Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine. The last verse of this hymn, not printed in our 1982 hymnal, reads, Mortals, join the mighty chorus which the morning stars began. Father love is reigning o'er us, brother love binds man to man. Ever singing march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music lifts us sunward in the triumph song of life. The Hymn of Joy is a poem written by Henry van Dyke with the express intention of musically setting it to the famous Ode to Joy melody of the final movement of Ludwig van Beethoven's Final Symphony, Symphony No. 9. Van Dyke wrote this poem in 1907 while staying at the home of Williams College president Harry Augustus Garfield. He told his host that the local Berkshire Mountains had been his inspiration. The lyrics were first published in 1911 in Van Dyke's Books of Poems, the third edition. Van Dyke himself wrote of this hymn. These verses are simple expression of common Christian feelings and desires in this present time. Hymns of today that may be sung together by people who know the thought of the age and are not afraid that any truth of science will destroy religion or any revolution on earth overthrow the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, this is a hymn of trust and joy and hope. This hymn is generally considered by hymnologists to be one of the most joyous expressions of hymn lyrics in the English language. We will sing 2 stanzas to this glorious hymn. Once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide, in the strife of truth and falsehood, for the good or evil side. Some great cause, some great decision, offering each the bloom or blight. And the choice goes by forever twixt that darkness and that light. Then to side with truth is noble when we share her wretched crust, ere her cause bring fame and profit, and 'tis prosperous to be just. Then it is the brave man chooses, while the coward stands aside, till the multitude make virtue of the faith they had denied. These words, written by James Russell Lowell, who lived from 1819 to 1891, are often used for this hymn tune melody, Ton i botel, meaning tune in a bottle. These are not the words that are we familiar with from our 1982 hymnal, but just with the state of affairs today, I thought it was very appropriate to read some of the words and stanzas from Mr. Lowell's poem. And the Presbyterians and the Methodists use those words. Today we will sing two stanzas of hymn 381, Thy Strong Word Did Cleave the Darkness, written by American Lutheran clergyman and theologian Martin Franzmann, who lived from 1907 to 1976. He was a college professor and a poet who wrote numerous books and hymns. Number 381, two stanzas. The tune Ora Labora, Pray and Labor, written by T. Tertius Noble, has lived close to my heart for many years. These are the words that have meant so much to me. Come, labor on, who dare stand idle on the harvest plain, while all around us wave the golden grain? And to each servant does the master say, go work today. Come, labor on, away with gloomy doubts and faithless fear. No arm so weak but may do service here. By feeblest agents may our God fulfill his righteous will. Come, labor on, no time for rest. till glows the western sky, till the long shadows o'er our pathway lie, and a glad sound comes with the setting sun. Servants, well done. Let us sing this text of Jane Laurie Borthwick, author, hymn writer, and translator of German hymns. Her most famous translation today is Be Still My Soul, and this, Come Labor On, her most famous poem. We sing 3 stanzas. The day thou gavest, Lord, is ended. The darkness falls at thy behest. To thee our morning hymns ascended. Thy praise shall sanctify our rest. So be it, Lord, thy throne shall never, like earth's proud empires, pass away. Thy kingdom stands and grow forever, till all your creatures own thy sway. The poet of this text was John Ellerton, who lived from 1826 to 1893. He was best known as a hymnologist, editor, hymn writer, and translator. Ellerton wrote or translated 86 or more hymns, such as Savior Again, To Thy Dear Name We Raise, God the Almighty One, King who ordainest, Throned upon the awful tree, Welcome Happy Morning. The music of this beautiful evening hymn was written by Reverend Clement Cotterill Schofield, who lived from 1839 to 1904. It first appeared in Sir Arthur Sullivan's Church Hymns with Tunes, 1874. Remember Arthur Sullivan? We spoke of him a few weeks ago. Sullivan wrote the music for Gilbert's most famous librettos. Let us sing 2 stanzas of this evening hymn. The hymn tune Sicilian Mariners is traditionally used for the Roman Catholic Church, known as a Marian hymn, focused on the Virgin Mary, titled O Sanctissima. According to tradition, Sicilian seamen ended each day of their ships by singing this hymn in unison. The tune probably traveled from Italy to Germany to England, where the European Magazine and London Review first published it in 1792. The translation says, "Our holiest, most merciful Mother Mary, you who were preserved without stain, pray for your children." We and those in the Reformed Church tradition use the words of 18th century British-born Baptist theologian, pastor, and hymn writer John Fawcett. His most famous hymn, perhaps, is "Blessed Be the Tie That Binds," but we will sing hymn number 344 in our 1982 hymnal as our last hymn today. "Lord, dismiss us with thy blessing." All three stanzas. I would like to leave you with one more piece for the organ. This is one of the many trumpet tunes that John Stanley composed for the organ. Stanley was nearly blind for most of his life, but he had an incredible mind and memory, sharp enough to play an entire work of Handel after hearing it for just the first time. Stanley's works include the opera Terra Minta, the dramatic cantata The Choice of Hercules, 12 other cantatas, the oratorios Jephthah, The Fall of Egypt, and Simri, and instrumental music, most notably his 3 volumes of voluntaries for organ, published in 1748, 52, and 1754. for another week of Performance St. Paul's. I am so glad that you were here today. I look forward to seeing you next week again, when, for our final time in this series, we will sing joyfully the words of some of our most favorite hymns. We will indeed rejoice when we can sing them out together again. Until then, Soli Deo Gloria.